Let's begin our Satsang with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend Beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lady Shaya, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, Beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, Saints of all religion, Beloved Swamiji, we humbly bow to you all. Divine Mother, we thank you for your presence in our lives. Inspire us again and again to act as your instruments, sharing your light, your blessings, your love to souls everywhere. We are your very own. Awaken us. Anti.
Again, welcome to everyone. We're delighted to see all of our new friends, our old friends, and we have had much joy in preparing this satsang for you. It's also our privilege to invite and to have Swami Aditya here today. He's a dear friend, and it's very easy. I could go on for hours about how wonderful he is, but I'm going to keep it short so we can get to the talk. Swami Aditya is from Pune, and he is a medical physician, and he is also a Nayaswami of the Nayaswami order. And he came to Ananda in 2006. He read the autobiography of a yogi, and right away he decided he wanted to become a monk. And it was instant love for this path and for the guru in his heart. And it led him to Swami Kriyananda. And Swami Kriyananda and he connected immediately on a spiritual level and on a personal level too. They became deep friends. And then he became a monk of the Nayaswami order. And then Swamiji, very soon after that, asked him to move to Pune with our other new monks, and he began a monastery there on our Pune land. It was a very bold and brave move for a medical doctor to leave everything and to jump into life. Because of his enthusiasm and willingness to say yes to life, he immediately became involved in Ananda. And Swamiji saw a bright star. He became a teacher. He began to teach these teachings to many, many people, helped us to build the monastery. And then Swamiji made him a Kriyacharya. A Kriyacharya, he's able to initiate souls into Kriya Yoga, which is a great blessing for all of us. He travels all over the world, and his medical practice has taken on a new form. And what he has done is he has taken masters' healing techniques and teachings and incorporated them into his practice of medicine, and he's helped hundreds and hundreds of people learn how to become aware of the health of their own bodies through this path and these teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. We're very, very pleased to have him here, and we would like to welcome him with Krisha. Krisha, will you come up? She is Venkat and Kokila's daughter, and she's going to garland our dear friend, Dr. Ditya. And now we will light the candle. Now we will have the privilege of listening to our choir. Will the choir please come up? We'd like to sing some songs for you, written and composed by Swami Kriyananda.
Morning, when I greet the sun, when I go forth to crowded way, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. When I laugh, oh, when I cry with pain, when my best friends did understand, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. Dear Lord, my Lord, I am thine for eternity. Dear Lord, my Lord, I am thine eternally. Though my path leads over desert sands, though it take me through bitter storms, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. When I'm working and I'm in hungry post, that come victory or love defeat, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. Dear Lord, my Lord, I am dying for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Dear God, my God, I am thine for eternity. Dear God, my God, I am thine eternally. Most high of the heavenly Father, all our lives we dedicate to Thee. All our labors, all our joys and woes, all our pleasures, all our memories. Make us each a channel of Thy peace. When in darkness, guide us from above. When there's sorrow, may we show Thy joy. Where there's hatred, may we share Thy love. Lord Most High, our Heavenly Father, all our lives we dedicate to Thee. All our labor, all our joys and woes, all our pleasures, all our make us each a channel of Thy peace. When in darkness, guide us from above. Where there's sorrow, may we sow Thy joy. Where there's hatred, may we share Thy love.
In just a little bit, chanting Mahamrityunjaya mantra. And these are, as you very, very mantras for our enlightenment and liberation. And it would be good to take to heart Swami Kriyananda's counsel that in a ceremony such as this, we really can burn up karma. We will be using the hands at one mantra to draw the energy up the body, specifically up the deep spine where the karma resides, and then offer ourselves in flames which symbolize the purification, the love that we all share in common. And so go into this ceremony with real faith, and you will find that the benefit for it is a growing sense of freedom. Swami also mentioned that if you would like, very good practice, just before we go to bed at night, you can visualize here in the forehead, perhaps visualizing blue healing flames of spirit, and then offer into that fire all of your desires, all of the various things perhaps that are obstructing the natural love of the heart. And you will find bit by bit, in incorporating this practice, a growing freedom, because that's what it's all about. When we think about the spiritual path, it's important to remember that we already have everything on a soul level. We have a fair amount to give away, and that is our karma. And the more we can release these obstructions, then we find that the thoughts that come are more refined, joyous. Of the heart becomes natural. The thought that, again, God is residing within us and around us becomes a living reality. And so I will light the fire now. Okay. And you people in the front row, as a caution, including want you to be able to speak and not get burnt up. You never know with the wind. This is going to be a big flame. And so we want to make sure that if it starts
Okay, move even now. Yeah.
be back.
Come on, yeah, we can create space for this.
Yeah, second row is fine, but the first. So now, as we light the fire, then again, enter into this experience with faith, real faith, knowing that that freedom that comes that we're all seeking can be helped this way by entering in ceremony with. So again, using the hands, you can open palms in this mantra, attitude of receptivity, and to and the God. Om Bhurrbhuva Swaha, Om Tatsavitu Arniyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Yo Yo Naha Prachodayat Om. Om Bhurrbhuva Swaha, Om Tatsavitu Arniyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Yo Yo Naha Prachodayat Om. Om Bhurrbhuva Swaha, Om Tatsavitu Arniyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Yo Yo Naha Prachodayat Om. Om Bhurrbhuva Swaha, Om Tatsavitu Arniyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Yo Yo Naha Prachodayat Om. Om Bhurrbhuva Swaha, Om Tatsavitu Arniyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi,
धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Now in the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, we're going to be using the hands. They're very powerful, these hands, as magnets. Draw the energy, the karma up the deep spine and offer it. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyamamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyamamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyamamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyamamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyamamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyamamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyamamritat Swaha. Om Swaha. Om Swaha. Om Swaha. O eternal fire of Om,
O eternal fire of Om,
we cast in thy flames of love
we cast in thy flames
all of our desires,
all of our desires,
all of our karma.
all of our karmas.
Awaken us,
Awaken us,
purify us.
purify us. Om Shanti.
We'd like Nice Swami Aditya to come up and lead a chant, and then we'll proceed from there.
Good morning, everybody. Just as we've opened our hearts and to the masters, let's invite them now to come more deeply, to bless this satsang, to bless each one of us. Let's sing this chant of masters, a door of my heart. Let's begin with an invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my open wide I keep for thee. When thou come, when thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, I look for thee night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come? Wilt thou come? Just for once come to me. Wilt thou come? Wilt thou come? Just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Wilt thou come? Wilt thou come just for once? Come to me. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Let's meditate, friends, just 4 to 5 minutes. In this brief meditation, feel, as Master once said to Swami Kriyananda ji, how can a little cup hold an entire ocean? Let's feel our heart is that cup that Master, breath by breath, thought by thought, devotional prayer after prayer, expands every day. And in this brief meditation, once again, Master is coming to expand and enter our hearts ever more deeply, ever more expansively. Continuing to stay inward, let us listen to this poem by Paramahansa Yogananda ji called God's Boatman. I want to ply my boat many times across the gulf after death and return to earth's shores from my home in space. I want to load my boat with all those waiting, thirsty ones who have been left behind, that I may carry them to the opalescent pool of iridescent joy, there where my Father distributes his all desire quenching liquid peace. Oh, I will come back again and again, crossing a million crags of suffering. With bleeding feet I will come, if need be, 1,000,000,000 times, as long as I know that one stray brother is left behind. I want thee, O God, that I may give thee to all. I want salvation, that I may give it to all. Free me then, O Lord, from the bondage of this body, that I may show others how they too can free themselves. I want thine everlasting happiness, but I want also to share it with others, that all my brothers may find the way to happiness forever and forever in thee. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I think I'll stand and share. Let me feast my eyes for a moment. I've been off late enjoying this story of Paramhansa Yogananda's. This used to happen on a daily basis in the life of Rajarsi Janakananda. He was Yogananda ji's most advanced disciple, as many of you may know. And Rajarsi was a very busy man. He was a self made millionaire, very dharmic man, absolutely dharmic. And he would come back after work, in the evening, and he had a caretaker of his estate. And that caretaker had a little boy, much like Adish, who was sitting over here with me as a little boy, maybe 5 years old or so. And they would come, and so this caretaker would, after a day's work, he would take a bath, wear fresh, clean clothes, likewise clean his boy, and they would both go and ring Rajarsi's doorbell. They would ring his doorbell. I can see how just like Haridas and Ramaji's doorbell is rung so many times. Ting tong. Ring the doorbell, and Rajarsi would open, and he would say, "Hello, great souls. Good evening. How are you?" And they would both, father and son, look up. "So we are wonderful, sir. How are you?" He said, "I'm doing very well too." And then they would say, "Well, sir, you have a nice evening." And Rajarsi would say, "You too, my friends. Have a very nice evening." And they would basically take their leave. And that was the satsang, you might say. But what was really happening? In a simple way, it's called darshan. Just an hour ago or so, we had Jyotish and Deviji, our dharmacharyas, worldwide directors. Pune was hosting the satsang. I'm from Pune, as Romaji mentioned. I serve the work there. And so I was hosting it partly from here. Another Guru Bhai was joining me from Pune. But just when they came online, it's like we saw them, they saw us. I said, "Can I please take a picture, group picture of 4 or 5 of us?" They said, "Yes." I took a picture. And on one level, frankly, you might say the satsang is over. Kriyananda ji, and it's very appropriate, so beautiful that that lamp is in front of Kriyananda ji, because Master starts the autobiography of a yogi, friends, with that story that India is long known for the search for eternal verities and the concomitant disciple guru relationship. It was Swami Kriyananda ji who lit that fire, like Romaji was so beautifully saying in their introduction. But I have to say, and I had met Haridas ji days before I joined Ananda. I had come to a public talk like this. There were about 800 people. My aspiration was, I had put in a request, I want to quit what I'm doing. I loved my medical work, but I was seeing a limitation, and I may share about it. But basically, when you see death, when you see a patient whose kidney stone you've removed, but he comes back with a fracture, or somebody is having a mental challenge, and you're like, if it's not one thing, if it's another. If it's not this, it's that. If it's not physical illness, it's an emotional challenge. It's a spiritual challenge we are facing. Ultimately, death is standing, and I was perplexed. I said, is there any lasting happiness? Like Master said, can we forever sign a prescription and say, this is it? And so I was feeling incomplete from that sense, as you can imagine. An autobiography of a yogi came in my life. I met Swami Kriyanandaji. But at that time, in that event, I could not meet Swamiji. There were hundreds of people. Everybody wanted to see him, get a blessing, get his darshan. But I met Haridas ji later. I was told to meet with him. And I was trying to explain, I was explaining my predicament. I said, "Sir, I'm still carrying the hospital phone. I can be called." And I said, "I don't mind hard work, except I don't want to go back there. I feel this is my life." And I remember just in seeing Haridas ji, the way, yesterday I was talking to some teachers in Bangalore about teacher training. And I said, many times a teacher, like a Muni, so I'm used to say, has to say nothing. They just have to be a good listener. And I saw Haridas ji, I saw Romaji and others, and I said, "This is my family. They have what I want, and I will take that." In the next few days, I took that step, and I feel very blessed. That was, as Romaji mentioned, many years ago, but time goes by quickly. It doesn't. And fortunately, Deviji was mentioning, it's very perplexing to you and me. She mentioned, but I'm so grateful to our teachers who uphold the bar. You know, Kriyananda ji said many times it is the priests and teachers who do the greatest disservice to religion by bringing the truth down to a level where it's easy to apply. But Deviti said a beautiful thing. She said, time is real for you and me. For example, I traveled 2 days ago from Pune, and tonight I'm taking a flight back. Tomorrow is hopefully my day off. But she said, time is real in this plane of relativity. And time changes. That was the topic. But she said, when you go in the eternal now, when you go into a deep meditation, even, you say, oh, I didn't realize so much time went by. Just last week, we started a new meditation class in Pune. So some students, I was asking them from one class to the other. It was the second class. How was the week? And one person said, I was meditating 15 minutes, sir. And I found it hard to touch 20 minutes. So, you know, it's a little bit of a challenge. What can I do? And I said, 15 minutes is not bad in the first week. And I said, I'll tell you some things. But I said, first, I want to invite two students from your batch who may want to share something because Shivaratri had gone by and it was a full night meditation for us. And so this lady came up and she was totally unprepared for this. And I said, but just share, I said, I saw you sit 9 hours. How did you do it? And she said, I prayed to the masters that I just took how to meditate class, and 3 days later, they announce it's a Shivaratri meditation. You don't want to offend Shiva. And so I came with my husband, who is a slightly long term meditator than me. But she said, I prayed, I looked at others, I looked at the altar, there was some chanting in between. I got tired and I got up, I stretched, I energized. And basically, she said, before I knew it was morning, it was slightly challenging, but it was the heart. The heart is the something, you know, like today we're talking about Paramahansa Yogananda, the messenger of divine love. If you love something, if you love somebody, let me start the other way. If you don't love something, you may say, well, it's good this is happening. It's very good. Somebody needs something. Well, I'll pray for him, maybe. Like Swami used to say, there was a man who was going for a talk. He was a priest. And he was going for a lecture and he heard somebody say, help, help. And he looked to the side of the road, and in the pit over there, somebody had fallen. And this man said, oh, help me, sir. And this man looked at him and said, such bad karma. Poor guy, he fell in the pit. And he said, I'm going for a sermon and I'll pray for you. And Swami said, if you were in the pit, would you pray? Would you want somebody to pray? I mean, your prayer has been answered that somebody's come. The point is that the heart and the mind have this dual nature of somehow convincing us for some things. We go literally to the end of the world. People make promises, I love you forever, another incarnation and such. And on the other hand, right before our eyes, we don't find reason enough to do something. So, first of all, I read that poem because aren't we so lucky? Swami used to say, human love, he said, human mind cannot conceive that kind of a promise. I'll come back for you 1 trillion times. Master didn't say that, why don't you get the lesson, less than 1 trillion times. He would urge us, he would exhort us to get what's happening. Master said he would fight with Divine Mother for us. He would say, Mother, my brothers and sisters are howling. Look at the world. It's always been more or less, but there are waves. And now certainly is a wave where you think of love, peace, harmony. And you say, the saints have said it, but it doesn't make much sense. But Master said he would fight with Divine Mother. And he said, Mother, they are howling in fear and pain. And what have you done? And she would say, I have sent you and other awakened children of mine to tell people this is just a dream. Just like we have an inhalation and exhalation, just like we have a yesterday, there will be a tomorrow. Just like there's birth, we don't talk about death usually, but there will be a death. Instead of ignoring these realities, Master said, go deep in them, go beyond the breath. There's a beautiful Hindi word that Master translated. And if I've asked you this question, don't answer it, please, because I want the new audience to get a moment. Master picked this Hindi word called Vishwas. And Vishwas, what does it mean? Trust, belief, faith. Faith is very close to that, yeah. And Master said, what does it literally mean? Surrender. People say Vishwas means have faith in me, have mera Vishwas kijiye, Bhagwan pe Vishwas kijiye, have faith in God. But what does that word to the yogi mean? How can you have that level of faith? Yes, beautiful. After a long, long time, somebody in the first time, Shwas, it has some Shwas means breath, and Vishwas, Yogananda ji said, means without breath. He said in meditation, through Hong Saw, through Kriya, through deep devotion, you look at something beautiful and you say, oh my goodness, it took my breath away. You forget to breathe. And Master says that is a proof that breathing is a habit, subconscious, very deeply ingrained. But he says something attractive comes, a deep spiritual experience comes. That's why God is called Hari, that he steals you. He draws your attention so deeply. And Master said, what is it? Dhyan, dharana. He says, dharana is not concentration. Dharana is absorption. He says, what you're concentrating on, the Guru's image, stories, devotional chanting, kriya, meditation, the spiritual eye, whatever you call it. He says, you're so drawn into it that suddenly you realize, I'm not breathing. And then he says, but you're awake. Try it out. And Master said, if you are awake, aware, joyful, in the presence perhaps of God, your Guru's consciousness, and you're not breathing for moments, minutes, hours, like some advanced yogis do, you ask the question, how am I alive then? So the body is one of the realities. And Master, out of deep compassion, he didn't say, oh, yes, Aditya, you're just the body. He says, you are the body, but why don't you probe further? And like an older brother, a father, a mother, he would then each time tell us to stretch just a little bit longer. And sometimes the means, his teachings don't seem all that much an expression of love. That's why he would fight with Divine Mother. Can't we make it easy? And she says, this is how it is, Yogananda, but I have given you the teachings. So I want to share just a few little stories, about, you might say, a little bit of this chaos of this world. And it's not a new chaos, but then also some promising stories also from Swami's life, how divine love takes different forms. First of all, there's the story of Saint Francis of Assisi, Master's most loved saint. I think perhaps the world's most loved saint. He is the saint of love, humility, the saint of the environment, the birds and animals. A beautiful, beautiful man. He lived in the 11th century, and Master actually called him the patron saint of his entire work. And one time, St. Francis was descending from La Verna, which was a monastery where Yogananda ji went, and he confirmed. He said Christ would come every day in the evening. Every evening, Christ would come and sit on a little bit. And I've seen that slab, so I can tell you it's a little bigger, slightly bigger than this cushion. And his master said Christ would sit on that slab and console St. Francis. Francis would put his head on his lap and, you might say, complain, cry his heart out. What's happening? When will you really come? All these stigmata and all of that. Master said, why does God not directly do things? Why has he involved you and me? I'll answer that question later also, because I asked Swamiji that question. And one very simple universal answer God has given to many saints is, I want to see, what are you going to do? I can do it. God has created us. After all, he could do anything. But he wants to see what you and I will do. What is our will? As Christ said to Saint Teresa of Avila one time. She was 80 years old. He was asking her to do outreach. People say she was perhaps even carrying a tumor at that time. Such were her symptoms. And she said to God, why you inspired me? Why do you want an old lady like me to go around, as Christ had told her, to monasteries and inspire others when, Father, you could do it just like that? And Christ said to her, only to see your will in everything you do, daughter. That I'm just trying to, and will is not a matter of pure grim mind. I am willing, I will do this. Master once said to somebody, I think some souls in Hollywood would benefit from my teachings. People said, okay. And Master said to this man, would you care to go to Hollywood parties and speak about my book, Autobiography for Yogi? And this person said, Master, I don't want to go to Hollywood parties. They're drinking, and what would I do? And Master said, just keep some water in your cup. Don't tell them what it is and just strike a conversation. If you see somebody's really dejected, which by the way ended up happening, many souls came from there. Then she again said, Master, I'm sorry, I don't want to go to Hollywood parties. And Master said, wouldn't you do it for me? And she said, oh, yes, I would do it for you. That's again the power of divine love. That Master, like Babaji, was responding to those soul cries. And then Master needed an instrument to basically go there. So St. Francis, when he descended from that monastery, a villager met him. He says, what do you do up in those caves anyway? He said, I and my brothers pray for everybody. He said, well, Father, I can tell you one thing. This world has become a worse place ever since you went up there and you started praying. He said, things are getting worse. Village is fighting village. So many of our people are captive in that other village. And he said, I don't think your prayers are doing any good. Like a David, I was meeting him in Pune and I said, oh, why don't you come and all? And by the way, I have some friends from Pune who've now moved to Bangalore and I saw them, met them over here. It's very nice to see our larger family, everywhere. And why don't you? So I told this devotee, why don't you come? He said, I'm so overwhelmed with things, I think about you all, but please pray for us that things get better and so we can come. I said, but we are praying and you are always in our prayers. He said, they're not reaching somehow. He said, you must be praying, but either it's the wall or distance. He said, it's not reaching. I said, it's reaching, but you need to put out more energy to receive it also. How can you say prayers are not working? So St. Francis, however, he was so sweet, he went into a little self-doubt. When in doubt, pray to God. He prayed to Christ and he said, Father, am I not doing something right? Are my prayers not working? And it's written in his biography, Christ appeared to him and he said, Francis, when you and your brothers are with me in heaven, I will show you all the countless souls that were saved through your prayers. Through your prayers. Think about it. This is not an ordinary Leela. Swamiji said God is not a B grade playwright and movie director. There's layer after layer after layer of things going on. Padre Pio, another great Franciscan monk and saint, towards the end of his life, the last sermon of his life, actually, somebody asked him, Father, there's Satan, there's duality. Here he was talking about leaving his body, and you want the world to be a better place. You would think one saint should be enough. And Padre Pio gave such a beautiful example. He said, there was a little child and there was his mother. And this child was sitting on a very small stool, and this mother is busy doing embroidery. And embroidery is engrossing, hours can go by. And after some time, this boy says, Mother, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she says, oh, I'm making a beautiful bouquet of flowers, my child. And he said, flowers. So he looks up and he sees this multicolored, crisscrossing, dangling threads. And he says, there's no order, there's no beauty, there's no color or flower from where I'm seeing it. And she said, oh, give me a moment. And she lowers the frame, he said. And the breath is taken away. The child says, oh, mother, this is so beautiful. And Master would say, just lift your gaze, lift your consciousness, come up and see. Love, the saints say, is the basis of creation. And you say, well, it's not being expressed. That's right. It's not being expressed. We could channel it a little bit more. We could ask Master a little bit more. I want to tell you a story. Yesterday, we were talking with the teachers about the benefits of outreach. And yes, it benefits a lot of people out there. We are all on some or the other level products of outreach. I saw that ad and I responded to it. I met Swamiji. I'm here in Ananda. So outreach helps people. It reaches. But we all know it also. And try it out if you haven't experienced it. It helps you too. I was selling books in our first outreach in Ahmedabad. We did it from Pune in 2017. And we had finished the talk. I came out, we were selling books. And behind me was a big banner of Paramahansa Yoganandaji's book, Conversations with Yogananda. We were promoting that book. And this man just came from the side, a young gentleman, and he said, pointing to the banner. He says, he's a very great, very big yogi. I said, that's true. That's true. He said, he helps everyone. I said, absolutely, sir. Disciple, his disciple or not, he's universal. He helps everybody. He said, he has helped me also. I said, very nice. I'm very happy for you. And he says, do you want to know how? I said, sure. I said, "Yeah, just keep narrating." And I said, we'll sell books in the meantime. And he says, this was a few years ago. And he said, I've been naughty since childhood. And I've troubled my parents. And, I was not a good student. And he said, but he said, I have a good heart. And he said, one day I started a business, but some people were jealous with me. So they got together, got the media together, the law together. And he said, I woke up one morning to my father kicking me in bed. And he says, get out and get out of this house. And he threw the newspaper at him. He said, look what you've done. And he looked and he said, I could barely make sense of things. Everything was, the headlines were against this man. His father just said, leave the house. And he said, I just took my car key and I left. And then he looked and he said, all those accusations about fraud and business were wrong. But anyway, he started moving and he's like, what do I do? What do I do? And after an hour or so, he felt hungry. And he stopped at a stall and he pulled out 10 rupees is what he had in his pocket. His cards were frozen, all credit cards, debit cards. So he reaches out to a vada pav, that pav with a potato thing inside. And he's about to receive it from the shopkeeper when a sadhu holds his hand and he says, this food is not good for you. Sorry. I think I laughed too loudly into the mic. Hello. Check. Right. So this gentleman said to him, son, this food is not good for you. And he said, sir, I don't have money. I can't eat anything else. He said, come with me. I'll feed you. And he said, just behind the road, he took me to a Ma Kali temple and we sat there and he started saying, get a plate, get this, that. And he said, food started coming. And he said, every now and then I would get very upset because I had found a friend. I would tell him, some people have done really wrong things about me and I'm going to take revenge. And he said, each time I would say something negative, this man would just turn around and correct his hair and ask for more food. And then he would say, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Don't worry. And finally, this man said, you need to rest. And he took him to a place and he made him some khichdi. And he said, we'll talk tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. And next morning, this man woke up and he's walking about in a little ashram like this. And the security guard sees him and he says, who are you? How did you get in? He said, don't talk to me like that. I was brought in. I'm here since yesterday. I've had food and all. And he said, no, nobody's allowed to stay here. He said, I was brought here. He said, by whom? And while he was talking to the security guy, he sees Master's picture behind this security guy. And he says, this man looks like he's important over here. He brought me in yesterday. And by this time, the security guard was like, he's dead for over 50 years. And this man said, it cannot be. Yesterday evening, and he pulled out and he showed me also the utensil. It was a very unique thing. Imagine a metal hollow cylindrical sphere, and if you just cut the top part of it and invert that, that's the kind of bowl he had. I mean, I've never seen anybody make a bowl like that. He said, this is the bowl in which he fed me. And anyway, long story short, that was of course Master. And he came and he was telling me, he said, and today morning when I saw your ad, he said, first I went to that ashram, but they were closed. And he asked them, hey, why? There's a class today. And they said, no, there's no class. And the ones who are doing a class, they are duplicates. We are the original. And he said, duplicate? Anyway, he came to us. And this was after the talk. He says, sir, I want you to know you are not duplicate. You are the original. They are duplicate. And the point was, what he was just trying to say is, Master came to him. Master saved his life. Another time, I was with Swami Kirananda ji, and he had just given a graduation ceremony for MBA graduates. And he spoke about dharmic business, how you can find God through service, through business. And it was a beautiful talk. I mean, I was quite new. This was in Pune, but Dharamdas ji, who had been with Swamiji for over 40 years, he told us that was one of the most inspiring talks I've heard from him. So it made me realize how beautiful it was. And in the morning, it was part of my job to take him and his team to the airport. They were flying to Delhi. I gathered their bags, put them in different cars, and then Swami was in a rental car. So, but this car was slightly higher than normal. So it was again my job to just give him support and just hoist him a little bit so he could sit in the chair. And he did that. And as he sat, I said to him, I said, Swamiji, thank you. Yesterday was such a blessed evening, and your talk was very, very inspiring. And he immediately took my hand and he pressed it, really pressed it with a lot of will. And his voice cracked, his eyes teared up, and he said, how I feel for all those children who have now been thrown to the wolves. How I feel for all those children. You could see he was praying for them all night. I have met 6, 7 of those children over the years. They've come back. We've met here and there. And they said that evening we didn't know who we were meeting. But to have somebody who not only preaches to you, who's not only suggesting you a book or something, he was your friend. And I was praising him. He could have said, well, thank you, Aditya. And he was very courteous. But in the moment, what was the pressing issue is, what are we going to do about those kids now? What's the next step? How can we serve them? That is divine love. Swamiji, in his last talk in Pune, he said speaking too personally about a master like Yogananda ji is actually to do a disservice to him. He said, because you have to understand, he was that personality, just like you and I are this body and more. He said, Master was those beautiful divine qualities. But he was also what he said is Triguna Rahitam. We are all aspiring that going beyond those ups and downs, those waves. And yes, once our heart's waves have been, you might say, put aside, God flows in full power. And that is what you and I enjoy in the life of the avatars. I'll tell you, friends, another story. I met Swamiji and I was asking him, you have initially you have these somewhat silly questions, but thankfully the teachers, gurus don't define it that way. So I had a moment with him and I said, sir, may I ask you a question? He said, yes. I said, many times we hear people say, oh, don't worry about this world. This is God's creation. He'll take care of it. And it's perfect. You think God does not know what he's doing? And you're like, okay, of course, I don't want to be telling God what to do. On the other hand, I said, Swamiji, there's so much injustice. Like Master said, people are howling in pain and suffering and confusion. I said, is this world a perfect place already? Should we do nothing? And Swami smiled, he chuckled, and then he said, um, let me recollect his exact words. He said, we must try to help people, but we must not lose our inner peace in the process. We should be calm. On one level, God knows what he's doing. And here's the important line that he said then. He said, but look around, Aditya. And I say it to all of you. He said, look around. Almost everything stands in great need of change. Now, again, for somebody to have such a broad concern, which is why he wrote those books, which is why he created communities on different continents to show, and he was our contact with Master, that when Divine Mother, when God responds to, shall I say, a planetary call, help us, an avatar comes. But if we keep that avatar in a photo frame, in a book, saying how great he is, we sort of do a disservice to him by not taking up the mantle. And then Swami said to me, he said, God has many plans for this world, but they do not see the light of day because of the lack of willing instruments. Think about it. God himself, and you may say, well, he doesn't love me. I think he loves us too much. Out of love and respect, he does not bend your and my arm. He does not say, well, Aditya, he whispers, he's silent. he suggests, even through a true guru never strongly will tell you, like Swami would gently suggest, they would wait for you to ask. So the point is, God is very much there, his power is very much there. Are we asking? And I'll close with this final story, which I don't normally share, but you will see the throne of God for each one of us. Of course, that story from Ahmedabad also made it clear when I shared it with Jyotish and Devi ji. Jyotish ji says he wrote a blog about it, and you can find it on their website. He says, think about it. If God, and that man, by the way, did not know who Yogananda was. He, as you remember, he found out next day. He said, if masters are looking out for people like that, like which is to say, who don't know him, how much more must they be willing to guide you and me? And so the masters are, fortunately, they are awake. There's no India time and US time for them. They are awake all the time. The question is, are we awake? And I want to tell you a story, friends, which was quite a reminder to me that how the masters are awake. I remember it was 2009. And I was, early on, the ashram work had just started, as Romaji mentioned. And I was having a little diary I used to carry with to-do list. People needed help. We were new in the city, so much work, construction. I had a library, I had a medical clinic. All things were happening simultaneously. And you would start the day and end the day, you tick them off. And I remember coming home, I saw it all worked out. Okay, we are good for tomorrow. I did my brief meditation and I tried to go to sleep. And I couldn't go to sleep. I tried to go, and it's the kind of feeling that you haven't done my work. It was a little bit like that. When you try to say, "Oh, I'll do this homework tomorrow." Yeah, I'll do. There's a part of you saying, "Why don't you do it now, so you can sleep more peacefully?" So I was like, "What have I not done?" So again, looked up. I checked the entire list, and I tried to go to sleep. Well, after a few minutes, I wasn't. So I sat up, meditate, and I prayed to Master. I said, please forgive me. I'm feeling that I haven't done something. What is it, Master, that you want me to do? And very clearly, instantly, this feeling came, I want you to go to the highway. And the highway, we were about 2, 3 kilometers. I'm not clairvoyant. I've never seen visions of Master. That was one moment which, like I said, has woken me up after that. And I didn't know how to drive. And it was 10:30 p.m. You don't leave the monastery usually at that hour. So I said, so I went out. Fortunately, one monk was working on a desk at a laptop. I said, could you please drive me up to the highway? Bangalore, Pune highway, interestingly, which then goes to Mumbai. And he said, sure, are you okay? I mean, should I join you? Do you want to walk, talk? I said, no, I'm fine. Just, I want to walk by myself. So he took me, he left me there. And then he turned around. And the moment he turned around, I was like, okay, what do I do? And I saw right there was a bench and there was a boy, young boy, like 20, 22. He was sitting. I'll show you how bad his posture was. Like completely hunched over in public gaze. That's how he was sitting. And people were walking. It was a walking place. I looked at him, and just then a little girl from a family, she ran, and hearing her sandals, he looked up, he smiled, and then again he went back. And I thought, this boy is dejected. And I kind of intuitively knew this is why I'm here. So I just went up to him and I said, hello. He said, hello. I said, I'm walking over here. I said, would you like to walk? Shall we walk together? He said, okay, sure. I started walking, and long story short, I used to wear white clothes, and he's like, why are you wearing white? And what do you do? I said, oh, I'm a monk, I'm a teacher, and a doctor, and all this. Oh, what do you do? I'm doing this and that. We spoke and spoke and spoke. And at 1:30 in the morning, he says, I want to learn how to meditate. I said, come. So we went to the monastery. I taught him how to meditate. I gave him the How to Meditate book and autobiography for yogi. 6 months later, he went on to take Kriya, and he then told me after 6 months, he said, Aditya, you remember that night we met? I said, oh, yes, yeah, clearly. He said, if you would have not come for another 10 minutes, I would have taken my life. And he was going through a very difficult challenge. Something had happened to one of his relatives in a very unnatural way, and she had lost her life, and he was just not able to come to terms. Now, my question that day when he told me that story was, I was only an instrument, but Master, and he didn't know Master again, but Master knew him, and Master was watching out for him. And Master said, I want somebody to go to the highway. God does not work as Swami said. He has many plans, but they do not see the light of day. We think, oh, he is an avatar, he is God himself. I'll let him do it. He'll do a better job. God's project is you and me. So when we think of divine love, when we think of the meditation we've been asked to do, keeping the restlessness, the likes and dislikes, the satsangs that we come to support one another. And one may ask, if Master brought divine love, are we channeling it to one another through our words, through our action, through our prayers for one another? The world, like somebody said to Saint Francis, is in turmoil. What are we going to do? Masters have come. The avatars are in front of us, their life example, their love is expressed in their teachings. Now, all we have to do, as you know, and as you are doing, but it's always more and better, is keep asking them, Master, I don't know why you want me to go to the highway. And please, I'm not suggesting you start wandering here and there. Like I said, it was a direct hotline in that moment. And I was like, unless I test this feeling, I won't know if I should go to the highway or not. I don't normally hear such commands to go to the highway. But the point is, in every person we are meeting, in every place we go, in everything we do, Paramhansa Yogananda ji is saying, will you offer me your eyes? Will you offer me your hands and limbs? And finally, if you tell somebody, oh, I love you, but I don't have time for you. I can't serve you. I can't come and see you. I'm like, what kind of love is that? If you love spontaneously, you say, oh, I love you. What can I bring you? Can I make you a cup of tea? Can I do something for you? Can I pull a chair for you? Because the heart and the hands, you might say the heart and the mind, they're all connected. So keep that in mind. Yes, it's a challenging world, but as they say, as Master would say, when the going gets tough, the strong, the faithful, the ones who've experienced what is the gift of meditation? That's the gift of Ananda. They say, Master, you came for me. I will help my brothers and sisters by being an instrument to you. God bless you. We'll have an arati now, friends. Let's all stand up. And also Guru Bhais who are online, I invite you to stand up. Let's join in arati. And what is an arati again? It's a simple self-offering that, Master, you created me. I offer myself, my inner light, once again, body, mind, and spirit at your feet as an instrument.
Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri 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 Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Now we'd like all of those who are so inclined to come up to the altar to receive the touch of light from the Masters. As you approach, offer a prayer of gratitude to the infinite Christ, in whose love our line of Masters have descended, that we might all come to God. And pray too for the grace to share with all as you have received, for you are a part of all that is, and the light of the great Masters shine upon you. I'd like to invite you up for a blessing. And as you approach, would you please come up the center aisle and walk back to the side? We have a gift for you on each end, and then come back to your seat after the blessing and remain silent. And Aditya, after the blessing, will lead us in a healing prayer for world peace.
Let's take a moment to visualize our planet in the overarching presence of our masters, their healing rays surrounding the planet, blessing it, blessing all people, all things, all creatures. Let us especially now see their light flowing ever more through willing instruments, through our words, actions, thoughts, once again bringing healing to us and healing vibrations to many others. Please pray with me. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent, thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, in all minds, and in all souls. Rubbing our hands together, let's send these healing blessings out into the world. Om. Om. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Go out with joy.
I'd like to thank Swami Aditya for a beautiful talk and this wonderful, sweet energy and powerful example of his spiritual life for all of us to meditate on how we can change our lives also in this beautiful way of following the gurus, following love, and being channels for that love. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you also to all of our staff who put together such a beautiful presentation. So lovely. The altar, the organization, the lemonade. Those are the little boys that did the lemonade, and our wonderful cooks who have prepared a delicious meal for us. We should applaud them. They've been cooking all night. So I hope everybody got a gift. If you didn't, see a new here at the end, and she'll see that you get one. Have some time, about 15 minutes before the lunch will be set up. So we would like you to take this time just to browse around the ashram, look at the tables back there. We have Master's Healing Essences. We have a book table with all of Swamiji and Yogananda's spiritual books and many others. And we have a Path of Kriya Yoga table where you can ask all the questions you ever had to Venkat and Harish, and they will answer them for you. And we have an information table, which Anjali will share with you. Who is Swami Kriyananda? What is Ananda? How is Ananda spreading Master's work in the world? So take your time, have some more lemonade, and we'll ring a bell when it's time for lunch. And we deeply thank each one of you for coming here and sharing your love with all of us. It's such a joy for us to see all of you. So thank you, and God bless you all.